Township Supervisors meeting to order for Thursday, July 1st, 2021. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask everyone to please double check any electronic devices and make sure phones and things like that are either off or on vibrate. Announcement of executive sessions held. I just want to read one, actually, before we do that, I'd like to state that this meeting was duly advertised according to Second Class Township Code on Thursday, July. The advertisement was for Thursday, July 1st, 2021 for the Board of Supervisor meeting in accordance with the Second Class Township Code and the Lancaster newspaper on June 23rd, 2021. Also, on June 17th, at the last Board of Supervisor meeting, an executive session was announced, and we left for an executive session. We did come back, and during the 2017-2021 meeting, after our recess, the supervisors reconvened in a regular session, and we approved the following motion. And the motion that we approved was, motion was to pay Tony Luongo, the zoning and code enforcement officer, his total amount of accrued personal, sick, and vacation time through his resignation day of June 24, 2021, and the motion carried unanimously. Okay. Past meeting minutes for approval.
They will be presented to July 15th.
Okay. So moving on to one of the primary reasons we're here is action items related to land planning. Go ahead, Miss.
The project on the agenda is Earth, Turf, and Wood. Give a little background, then there's also representatives from the engineering firm involved and the applicants in attendance. So last time this project was discussed with the Board of Supervisors, or a key point where it was discussed with the Board of Supervisors back in November of 2019, there was some discussions about deferral of the roadway improvements along Route 272. That was done as part of a sketch plan to ensure that there was an understanding as to how those issues would be handled before the applicant proceeded. The applicant has obviously since proceeded, submitted land development plans, they've been reviewed by our office, in addition to the Conservation District, the authority, DEP, as far as the NPDES permit goes. And the general summary of the permit status to date would be that they have obtained their NPDES permit from the DEP Conservation District. They have also obtained their PennDOT highway occupancy for a proposed connection to Route 272. Maybe I'll take a step back first and identify the location on North Reedstown Road. It would be 188. It involves three parcels, and we can get into some of the discussion. 182, 188, and 196 North Reedstown Road. It was west of the current Earth, Turf, and Wood property. There are some, as indicated, involves three properties. So the applicant has obtained the NPDES permit, the PennDOT permit, and also has most recently we received confirmation that the authority is satisfied relative to their aspects of the project. So as far as the project scope itself, it involves the construction of approximately a 14,000 square foot commercial building, associated parking, maneuvering. As a result of accommodating that property, portions of other properties are modified. The existing Earth, Turf, and Wood site is slightly reduced to transfer parcel to this property. The existing farmette to the west is reduced to a single rectangular shaped lot. Two dwellings existed previously, two dwelling units existed in that structure, and they will remain that way. So as you can see on the screen, that's the general overview of the project. There are numerous waiver modifications and deferrals, which we will get into for detailed discussion and action. And ultimately, the applicant seeking conditional plan approval, and then following that, there will be routine, assuming the board is open and makes that motion, and there's other administrative items. Planning Commission has reviewed the plan and has recommended approval of the waiver modifications and deferrals that are before you. They have also recommended conditional approval of the plan. There were some discussions, and conditional recommendation for approval of the plan was only occurred on Monday this week. As a result of those meetings, there were some discussions related to landscape screening, fencing related to one property, and also we got into some additional detail on one particular waiver modification related to stormwater that was remaining. The reason that waiver was remaining was awaiting PennDOT or awaiting DEP's approval of the NPDES permit, which was only recently received. So with that as maybe an initial intro, I'll turn it over to Steve maybe to highlight any other aspects of the project, and then maybe suggest there be any general discussions and any questions people have relative to the project scope. Maybe before I do that, I would highlight that the project as currently proposed would be widening a portion of North Reedstown Road to meet current subdivision land development standards along the frontage of Lot 2. The lot to accommodate the new building. Currently Lot 3, which would be the lot which accommodates the current Earth Turf and Wood property to the east, would have existing curb in place in the widened section as a result of a land development plan for this was American way back in the 80s. The property to the west is not proposed to be approved, and there's part of the deferrals that will be discussed. So, Steve, anything you want to highlight or?
I'm Steve Gerber with Harbor Engineering and Jared Henson, the property owner. No, I think Brent's summary was excellent, so I don't have anything to add unless you have any questions.
Questions from the board?
I don't have any at this time.
So I think in trying to maybe expedite some things, maybe we can group certain waiver modifications, and I can highlight several, and then possibly consider action on those as a single motion, and then consider others, especially those that are maybe more routine.
How many total waivers are being requested?
Yeah, I'd say 13 or 14, there's some deferrals in there. Typical response to that. Well, the numbers may imply certain things, but the specifics are the issue. So that's why I think as we discuss them individually.
No, I'm just trying to determine if it's unique to this parcel or if our ordinance is, I would say, outdated, or if our ordinance is such that.
Maybe I can touch on that just briefly, not to tie things up, but yeah, any ordinance could always use an update, especially after it's aged. What is this, 15? Probably 15 years or something. It's 2005. And there have been discussions with past boards to initiate updates. In fact, prior managers had initiated discussions and listed items to be updated. But I think you'll see a lot of the items discussed this morning or on many projects are project specific. And it's hard to say when it would be applicable, when it isn't applicable. And I can touch on some of that as we go through. I do not think the majority of these waivers are an indication of an ordinance issue. So the first, I'll read through three of them, that these are more routine. The first one relates to allowing the project to process the preliminary final plan and combined submission based on the scope of the project, the scale of the project, and obviously with the majority of the permits obtained, there's no reason to have a two-step process for this type of project. So that waiver modification is related to allowing the applicant to provide a single submission to meet both requirements. That would be a waiver modification of section 194-9. Next one relates to limits of survey work and the information. The ordinance has provisions to require detailed survey work within 200 feet of the subject property surrounding all subject properties to the project. In this case, we have concurred that the limits of the information provided are adequate for this project and will not warrant additional detailed survey work. It's by blending available LiDAR survey and GIS information combined with field survey, we feel the information on the plan is adequate. In addition, road frontage improvements, the ordinance requires that anytime there's improvements to public streets, that they provide cross sections of those improvements along the length of the improved section at 50-foot intervals. In certain cases, especially where you have an existing roadway with a center line, elevations that vary, may not be ideal. We concur with providing a detailed 1 to 10 large plan view with spot elevations as the alternate. So why don't we deal with those three? I can read the motions all and then have you take an action. First motion, we can approve a waiver modification of section 1949 of the Cocalico Township subdivision of land development ordinance related to preliminary plan processing to authorize the plan to be submitted and reviewed as a combined plan, meeting the requirements of both preliminary and final. Next motion would be to approve a waiver modification of section 194-14C4. These Cocalico Township subdivision land development ordinance section 185-14B4 of these Cocalico Township stormwater ordinance, stormwater management or disturbance ordinance related to depicting existing features within 200 feet of subject property. To authorize the applicant to provide LiDAR topography and GIS information surrounding the general project area as currently depicted on the plans, conditioned upon any additional detailed survey information being provided. I would say if deemed necessary to address any remaining comments. And third motion would be approval of waiver modification of section 194-14D9 of the Cocalico Township subdivision land development ordinance related to cross sections. Requirement for street cross sections at a 50-foot interval for all required street improvements to authorize the use of 1 to 10 large plan view detailed spot elevations and move cross sections.
Any questions, comments on those three motions? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve those as listed by the engineer.
And I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Next two, one relates to lot 3, which I mentioned is the existing earth, turf, and wood property. There was, I'll call it a technicality. The applicant consultant indicated that the current curb line, as they dimensioned it from the center line of the road, is approximately 17 feet. Current ordinance requirements would be 18 feet. When we reviewed the prior land development plan for that site, it was shown at 18 feet. So sometimes the center line of a road meanders a little bit. And at this point, we mutually agreed that there's no sense in trying to shift that curb line back a foot. And that as any future widening occurs or improvements through there, that could be accommodated. So that would be a waiver modification related to the curbing on location of the curbing on lot number 3. Next one relates to clear sight triangles. The applicant's requesting that there be a reduction in clear sight triangles for the drives to 50 foot. And there are two access drives technically. The new project is an access drive and the lot to the left, lot one, the residential structure is technically an access drive, not a driveway, because it serves two dwelling units. So as we've done on other projects, we feel comfortable reducing the clear site triangle. For these
250
type-
foot from what in the ordinance?
The ordinance is 100 foot, so it would extend 100 foot into the property, 100 foot to the left and right, and require that entire triangle to be clear, which is more appropriate for a higher volume driveway. I would note that clear site triangle should not be confused with clear site distance. Both driveways, all driveways, as can be seen on the screen there at the bottom, are documented to meet site distance. So as you're waiting to pull out, look left and right, you have clear site.
Thank you.
So why don't we take those two? That would be motion to approve a waiver modification section 194.25C1 and 194.25J1. These Cocalico Township subdivision land development orders relating to widening the existing North Reachtown Road Cardinal for lot number 3 based on the current placement of the curb. The other motion would be to approve a waiver modification section 194.25L5 of these Cocalico Township subdivision land development orders relating to clear site triangle access drives, authorizing use of fixed point clear site triangle.
Any other questions, comments? Do I hear a motion? I will make that motion. Do I hear a second?
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
The next one relates to street trees along Route 272, yeah, on lot number 2. The applicant, typically street trees would be required along existing or proposed public roadways. The applicant is requesting a deferral of the placement of street trees along along 272. As I mentioned at the intro to the project, that those road frontage improvements, curb, sidewalk, were deferred along that area. And the proposal is that, as recommended too by the planning commission, would be to defer the street trees until such time, be reconsidered at such time as the sidewalk, curb, and other widening be proposed or initiated along that frontage.
There's 4 deferrals on this page.
Yep.
Who and how do they be tracked?
Every one references that, or majority of the key ones obviously reference that there will be notation on the plan documenting that obligation, so it's up to the township to evaluate.
You suggested methodology.
The recorded plan documents the basis of it, as far as further, the township could have further records as far as deferrals, all properties involved with deferrals. So there's alternate ways it could be monitored internally. Typically what would occur is anytime there's a more collective improvement evaluated along the corridor, then the first step that engineer or consultant would do would be to pull all the recorded plans and go back and see which ones, if any, have associated deferrals that could then be initiated as part of that project. So
Appreciate that.
Brett, question for you. When I read through this, one of the questions I had was, is there normally a recommended time on these deferrals that you're attaching with this, or how are you doing
as far as a termination date,
that? Yes, for execution of the deferral.
no, it's the typical approach in the past is that the deferral kind of perpetual. It's on the plan. It's noted on the plan as an ability for the township to come back and require initiate that number of improvements.
Okay, so wrapping that into what you just said, Craig, it then becomes our due diligence to track that deferral to make sure when that deferral is done.
And there's never been a spreadsheet put
Not
together.
that I'm aware of.
There hasn't been a tracking mechanism.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I would go back to typical. there's a lot of things on a recorded plan that essentially need to be tracked, whether it's required landscaping, whether, you know, all the information there is agreed between the property owner and the township as far as the obligations of the site.
some kind of method of keeping track of all this, rather than going back through plan by plan by plan would be beneficial.
Limited.
All right. Okay. So,
Thank you.
Is there software that can be purchased to kind of keep up with all this stuff? I mean, so that way it can be more of like it's a proactive approach to between community and township and business owner and resident. Or imagine there would be, or has to be.
Just a spreadsheet.
That's excellent.
Township, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know of any software per se, but the township keeps pretty good records. We were talking about this earlier as to, you know, what Becker's providing and what we're storing in. So if we need to create a mechanism. I think it's easier enough to try and focus on deferrals. We can do that. All the plan notes, though, like you were referring to, may be a little difficult to do that. But deferral wise, we could have a list so that way then as a project comes up, as the plan is being pulled as well, or as the board says, hey, we really want to implement this now, we want to focus on this, we can see what we have listed there. We can see if, I mean, I would say it's easy enough now to start at this point. I don't know, we have to look and see what we evolved with going back to a period of time to be able to pull this off.
yeah. I would also point out that recorded plans can be called up from any computer in probably a minute. So, through the recorder of deeds, through the recorder of deeds site, that's the first source we would go to.
I was just more so concerned about the reminders, so that way I don't have to do it. So.
As far as, maybe we'll group that deferral with some waivers related to the parking, and those would be related to waiver modification related to limited curbing within the parking lot. Maybe Steve can highlight, they are providing curbing at the radiuses into the property from the public roadway to define that access. There's also curbing around the employee parking lot on the west as indicated, and then also some employee or some curb along a portion of the back portion. Generally, the curb is being provided where it's necessary for storm drainage or to help define key access ways or maneuvering. Other portions of the property, we have standard edge of asphalt. So that's one of the waivers. And the other is that they are requesting a waiver to eliminate some of the internal landscaped islands. Typically, a landscaped island is required every 10 parking spaces. They are asking that 2 places they be allowed to have 18 parking spaces in a row without an island. If feel necessary to explain their logic and reasoning primarily associated with vehicle delivery. And those would be along the bottom of the page, south and north. There's 18 along the west and primary parking lot. They are providing over 10 spaces. So if there's no further questions on those. The motion would be to approve the deferral of the requirements of section 194.50 of this subdivision land development orders related to street trees along North Reachtown Road or North Reading Road, clarify that, associated with lot number 2 to be reevaluated when deferred roadway frontage improvements are required. Condition on associated notation acceptable to the township be placed on the final plan documented with deferral of property owners and the property owner's sole responsibility to install the trees at such time as required by the township board of supervisors.
Okay, do I have a motion?
You don't need to.
And I will second that.
Yes,
Any iPad?
let's get this out.
Let's get this one done.
okay, great.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those none, motion carries.
And I would clarify that note on the plan that the plan is a recorded document. Any recorded document would be part of the title search. So any information referencing to that deferral would be part of the standard title search. Then the next two that we discussed, suggest maybe move as a motion to approve a waiver modification section 19430J. Least County Township subdivision land development orders related to parking lot curbing. Authorize the use of limited curbing around the parking spaces currently shown, currently depicted on the plans. And a motion to approve a waiver modification section 19430P1. The East County Township subdivision land development orders related to parking lot landscaping requirement for interior landscaping islands at every 10 spaces. To authorize 2 locations with 18 spaces without intermediate island.
Okay, any questions or comments on those? No? Do I, so grouping those together, do I hear a motion for that?
Yes, I'll make a motion. We approve as read by the engineer.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
And the next 3 would be deferrals with grouping. First deferral would be related to sidewalks. The applicant's request was to defer sidewalks along North Williamstown Road on lots 1, 2, and 3. Currently, the existing lot 3 with the current structure obviously does not have sidewalk. With the proposal for curb along lot number 2, they are requesting deferral in that area. And then as I will touch, next motion would be a deferral for curb along lot 1. So first motion is a deferral related to sidewalk along the frontage. Similarly, would be noted on the plan. Next deferral would be related to the curbing on lot 1. Deferral vertical curbing along North Williamstown Road to lot 1, which is a residential structure to the left. And then the third deferral would be related to that, and that would be associated with the widening associated with any curbing on lot number 1. So they go ahead and defer one where deferring widening, we definitely defer the curb. Going around, there could be some shoulder improvements, but unless there's any thoughts or comments relative to those deferrals, I can read those to you.
Where on here, I mean, I see that they're going to do curbing on the radius. Right?
Yeah, okay, so on lot number 2, would be around that ring, starting where the hand is, coming to the site, and then
Right.
out the other driveway,
Yes.
out the other side, the whole way down through and terminating in that area.
Mhm.
That would be the limits of new curbing
Okay,
for the project.
all right,
Then from that tip to the west, there would be an asphalt taper tying back in, and no further improvements to the west along that existing residential structure.
thank you.
So, reading those motions, be approved with deferral of the requirements of section 19432A of the East County Township subdivision land development ordinance related to installation of sidewalk along North Williamstown Road, lot 1, 2, and 3. Condition on associated notation acceptable to the township being placed on the final plan documenting the deferral and the property owner's sole responsibility to design, permit, install the sidewalk at such time as required by the township board of supervisors. Motion to approve a deferral of the requirements of section 19433A1. The East County Township subdivision land development ordinance related to installation of vertical curbing along North Williamstown Road or lot 1, condition on associated notation acceptable to the township being placed on the final plans, documenting the deferral of the property's sole responsibility to design, permit, install the curbing at such time as required by the township board of supervisors. And a motion to approve a deferral of the requirements of section 19425C1 and 19425J1 of the East County Township subdivision land development orders related to widening of North Williamstown Road cartway for lot 1, condition on associated notation accepting the township being placed on the final plan, documenting the deferral of the property's sole responsibility to design, permit, and install the road widening at such time as required by the township board of supervisors.
Any other comments or questions? Here none. Do I have a motion for those? I will make that motion.
Yes, and I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Next two relate to, one is the standard, somewhat standard curve reduction, depth reduction. Township prior standard is 22 inches, and more recently, we've been accepting PennDOT standard at 18-inch vertical curve. We have an interest in pursuing that, and we're satisfied. That would be, as discussed at the earlier point of the meeting, that would be one of the ones that would be incorporated in the future subdivision plans development ordinance update. Next item is a standard one. The applicant has applied for LRTA. And as a result, as part of the township LRTA, so-called LRTA package for commercial and industrial developments, it waives the obligations related to parking open space. So the two motions would be to approve a waiver modification section 194.33(1). East Cocalico Township subdivision related development ordinance pertaining to vertical concrete curve, to authorize the use of vertical concrete curve with a total depth of 18 inches consistent with the current PennDOT standards, including the township 22-inch depth. Next motion would be approval waiver modification section 194.46 of the East Cocalico Township subdivision related development ordinance related to park and open space requirements based on the applicant's submission of the completed LRTA application to the township.
Okay, any questions, comments? I'll make one comment here, just for Craig's information. So that 18 inches versus the 22 inches, that's what Brett was referring to in the past. Doug, Alan, and myself, and Scott, we had started to kind of look at where there were some consistencies in these ordinances that we were kind of not tracking or updating. So that's an example of one of the photographs.
Now, that's not the little frost line, but not what's.
Neither is, yeah. Well, there's stone, and then there's also base, that's a standard curve installation.
Right, do I hear a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve as the engineer has listed.
Do I hear a second?
No, second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
The next waiver modification relate to storm drainage aspects of the design. One of which I would say warrants possibly some further discussion, and this is the one that's highlighted at the past planning commission meeting. And it relates to the transitioning of certain drainage area from one portion of the site to the other. Maybe you want to highlight, Steve, a little bit. Just so the board has a sense.
Sure.
Typically, in an ideal scenario, you match drainage areas perfect in terms of their release points. That doesn't happen in every project. Obviously, there's manipulations of the site grading that are required. So in this case, they did transfer certain portions of their site to a different release point, but have also obtained approvals.
Let me run through that one.
Yeah,
Sure. I don't believe the engineering cases, but I demonstrated this to the planning commission the other night. But basically, there's two drainage areas associated with the site, one to the east and one to the west. One to the east is the property to the north of the site and a little bit in the roadway. Everything to the west goes to an existing inlet in the PennDOT right of way. That's really the better discharge point in this case because it's an existing point source that we can tap into. So you can see the drainage area graphically for drainage area A to the west is quite a bit smaller than the drainage area to the east. Our stormwater design takes a good portion of the site, including the building and paving, the existing building, into an above ground detention basin, which has a managed release concept, which has an under drain and slowly filters water out. That's the alternative that we have submitted to the NPS for the NPDS permit to be they approved that approach. And basically, we're tying that into the PennDOT inlet within 272, and PennDOT approved that way. The flows coming into the inlet, we demonstrated to them and to Brent's office that the flows entering this pipe are equal to or less than what are currently getting there. It meets the reduction requirements, and it doesn't cause any downstream degradation as a result of those flows here. And then for the remainder, we're taking it into a below-ground detention basin on the eastern portion of the site. It has an inlet box and has a small 2-inch orifice to slowly release water. And then it has an 8-inch pipe, and this is one of the other modifications, an 8-inch pipe which discharges to a perforated pipe that's fairly long within a concrete or a stone level spreader to slowly discharge water over the adjoining property in a manner consistent with what it is in the pre-development condition. And to further back that up, we have looked at the sub-drainage area to that point. What's getting to this point right now is property line in terms of cubic feet per second rate control. And we demonstrated that it was leading to that level spreader and will be less than that to minimize impacts on the property owner. So because the transfer drainage area is more than just incidental, usually there's always a small transfer drainage area. This is a little more dramatic, so we asked for that modification.
Yeah, the ordinance, if there's a subtle adjustment, the ordinance, we would handle it as a routine evaluation. Once you're talking something more substantial, we feel it should be discussed, handled through the waiver process, discussed with the board, identified more formally. So as he indicated, they did get PennDOT's approval. So that essentially is, I would say, the so-called downstream party in that direction. And in the other direction, they are reducing flows and matching pre-development. So feel no opposition to that. I'll go over the other waiver was related to, as Steve mentioned, they had to go to the managed release concept as a result of soil infiltration, which is not unique to Cocalico. We have soil infiltration in various areas. River exhaust is a site that also used the managed release concept. And with the managed release concept, you are not technically meeting the volume reduction requirement, although you are treating them to a standard acceptable by DEP through the issuance of the So the motion to either approve a waiver modification of section 185.2381 of the East Cocalico Township Stormwater and Earth Disturbance Ordinance pertaining to 2-year 24-hour volume control requirements based on the applicant obtaining an NPDES permit approved by DEP utilizing the managed release concept and keep flow discharge rates being managed and reduced to the satisfaction of the township engineer. To approve a motion to approve a waiver modification of section 185.27.81.84 of East Cocalico Township Stormwater Management Ordinance pertaining to conveyance pipe size, authorizing pipe size less than 15 inches for the private conveyance pipe from IC4 to IC3. Condition for final pipe size and associated flow rate evaluated to determine satisfaction of township engineer. Motion to approve waiver modification of section 185.27.81.2 of East Cocalico Township Stormwater Ordinance pertaining to inlet grate depressions to authorize the use of grading and inlet some conditions as depicted on the plans to the satisfaction of township engineer. And finally, motion to approve waiver modification section 185.22E, 185.25.31B of East Cocalico Township Stormwater Ordinance as it relates to on-site drainage areas, proposed alteration to shift portion of the drainage area being as reflected on the plans and stormwater counties. And as approved by PennDOT through the issuance of highway occupancy permit for the proposed PennDOT pipe connection and the LCCD/DEP through the issuance of this permit.
Any comments, questions?
Yeah, in the first one, has the NPDES permit
Yes.
been approved
Yes,
by DEP?
yes.
Okay, so,
It exists.
very good, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, do I hear a motion for those? Do I hear a motion for the four motions?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the 4 motions as presented by the engineer.
Do I hear a second?
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
As far as the next motion, which they would request to consider with the conditional approval of the plan, it does reference our review letter of June 8th, 2021, which we should have. There were really only a few items in there that were discussed in detail during the planning commission meeting. They related to, as I mentioned before, lighting or landscaping and screening adjacent to the one residential property. The planning commission expressed that they were satisfied with the fence, showed the limits of the fence around the adjacent property, but had also suggested that the applicant pursue further discussions, coordinate with the joint to have potential mutual agreements on some type of potential enhancements to that landscaping or modifications to the fence or different type of fence. I don't know, do you want to summarize your understanding of the discussions or planning commission's recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, the planning commission acknowledged that the fence meets the ordinance requirement for screening, because fences are permitted as an effective, an approved screening method, so that's being proposed. I think they encouraged Jared to meet with the neighbor and just discuss his plan, so if there's anything else that would be mutually, I guess, beneficial.
So Jared, is that in addition to the fence or is that a replacement of the fence?
No, in addition, we want to do this.
Okay.
As part of the landscaping discussions too, yes, Steve can highlight the intent of the landscape plan, but as noted in comment 7, in the subdivision land development section, should be the landscaping satisfactory. The shaded areas around the perimeter of the property are the buffer strips that are required in terms of land area, typically on tree per 750 square feet. Buffer strip is required. Their proposal is to, rather than disperse all those tree plantings throughout the entire buffer strip area, to focus them on key areas in their views of. Is there anything else?
Not really. I think my interpretation of the buffer strip is that if it requires a vegetative area, it can also include walls and fences. So I think we meet that requirement. We just place the trees, 1 per 750 square feet is Brett meant, so we just placed them where we thought they were more appropriate to provide screening and landscape enhancements where it made the most sense.
One of the other comments was on the north side of the project is a retaining wall. There is a grade transition, so as you come through the site, at that point, you will drop the building areas of plateau, and as you head towards the railroad cars or 272, there is an 8-foot high retaining wall, so you will drop to the low side there, and the comment reference potential enhancements or plantings anywhere along there. Planning commission did not brochure encourage further adjustments in that area, so similar opinion.
Nice question.
Yeah.
How do we, with going back to the landscaping with the neighbor and the fence, how do we handle that? I guess I don't want to be from the township saying that we're in the middle of a gray area. Have you met with that neighbor? Is there some consensus, or is there something that maybe we should put it down or deal with now so that we know how it works? What's the status of that?
I have not met with the neighbor on that. That's hoping the fence will suffice. Can't see the view about it. We talked at length about this at the planning commission. I felt they were okay with what we're going to do there.
I would say I asked the planning commission specifically because I knew where I would be Thursday morning, and I knew what was going to be discussed, and I wanted clarification. Is it required? Are you suggesting that the board be advised this is a requirement or a condition of the plan approval that be addressed prior to the plan being approved? And it shied away from saying that. They said, no, this is an after the fact, during construction, expectation that the two parties resolve the matter to their satisfaction. How do you?
So that's something from your end, keep in mind, because if it does become a conflict, we're gonna work off of the approval that you guys make here, you know, and we respond to that, so. I just, we were at this perfect time to clear it up and make sure we know which direction we're heading and how I can respond to it. But that's fine.
Has there been any indication whatsoever of concern from the neighbor at all? Any feedback, anything like that? Because they're well aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, we planted several rows of trees out there at 2 different times, having that out there without. Seemed to be okay with that. The difference with that, RC, is the trees were planted on our property. So at this point, we would like to make it a state line. I mean, no matter what trees you plant out there, nothing's gonna keep you from this privacy. That's why I
Take
said,
that in a row.
yeah, well, yeah, you're gonna take 10 to 15 years, and I think there could be other things that transpire before that happens. with the property. So. I mean, even if, you know, I haven't had a conversation with him yet.
Here's the existing.
Thank you.
There's the existing conditions plan out there. When the fence was added, the plan was updated to show the removal of the amount of woodwork, because it also identifies the trees in the upper right. So that all the highlighted trees along the perimeter there are proposed to be removed. Fence installed.
The proposal is for these all to be removed from the fence to the right side where essentially the curve on to just around this L-shaped portion. For now, I just want to say that Jerry wants to install the fence along more of the property than anything along his property.
Sure, that's fine. 6-foot vinyl, privacy,
Yeah, something's private,
white vinyl or the tan vinyl,
whatever color. So
whatever fits there. Yes, sir.
Actually, what's the ordinance say about fence height?
I'm not sure. I have to ask Brett that one.
The screening requirement, Steve clarified his interpretation, the screening section. You have it right there, the screening section references a 6-foot high fence.
It does, yeah.
The intent of the screening is to block, and you should have 6 feet, so the 6-foot fence would provide that.
There may be possibilities for a higher fence, and even some of those discussions occurred with the planning commission. But at that point, I had said further consideration having to give to other sections of the ordinance that may limit fence heights, yards, and things like that. But from the screening section standpoint, the fence was 6 foot. So that.
Go ahead,
Question, yes, sir.
my name is Dave East of 136 North Reachtown Road, just very western part of the project site there. Could you repeat this, the requirements for the buffer screening again, as far as the landscaping? Said one tree for 750 feet of buffer area or something like that.
Correct.
And so the applicant would like to basically cluster that requirement into the front yard of its operation there.
Yeah, I'll let Steve explain there.
Yeah, the front and the western property line there, too. The applicant owns lot number 1, so it's because of the service there. The requirement, so that's the buffer requirement. Then the screening requirement is that any use of this type in the C1 district has to provide screening from residential properties, regardless of the zoning district. So we provided that in the east and the west.
Okay, so should there be some screening proposed as far as in there with the billboard is okay?
Well, I guess our interpretation that we designed the plan was that we're screening the use as it is. Everything to the northwest on the site is just a detention basin. There's no proposed structures there or anything like that. So between the landscape and we have proposed and the retaining wall that would be seen from 272, we feel that would be, and along to the south there along the road frontage, we felt that met the screen in front of the buildings.
So just to give a little bit of a history here, Jared and I have been having a dispute for the last 5 or 6 years about the billboard and maintenance of vegetation across my property. He has obtained permits from PennDOT to clear vegetation within the highway right of way. But he's also persistent in clearing vegetation on my private property so that the billboard is visible from the highway. And so I would request that the town should consider screening the billboard from my property as per the ordinance we require for screening. You can see the billboard, there's a little line right there, yes.
Yeah.
Which property do you to the south and one to the west? To the west.
Was there, I thought I saw an email at one point about moving that.
There is a request, that's why they asked that not to.
Do you want, you request, getting the, to former zoning officer Tony about moving out, I think it's 100 feet, was it?
Something like that.
If that's been required by the township, I would request that shown on the plan and noted on the plan.
Would you be agreeable to showing the relocated position of the billboard?
Well, that's Penny Township approved.
Yeah, we haven't,
Okay.
With that notation, Penny Township approvals.
and I guess so we could, should the board want to see, if we see it on the plan where it's going to be.
Where was the alternate location theoretically or based on initial conceptual discussions at this point?
So there would be just to the west of the basin of Berkeley.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well,
So you right in here somewhere, right?
I don't think we need to put that for our city police. Yeah. I mean, we were gonna put another small sign up there. Six, that's gonna be for long, what you said, dude, that's gonna be further down. I mean, my request to Tony when he was here, Mike, was to go out and look at the spot, that would be.
And the billboard wasn't going to get big or anything, I thought.
No,
I saw it,
it's not,
it's the
it's
same
just-
thing.
So would you be amenable to doing that in terms of putting on the plans based off of our conditional approval and relocation in that building? Where do you, on those
Yeah,
drawings?
I don't mean, this is just going after plant trees.
You can plant trees between two properties.
Yeah.
That aren't shown on there now, right?
Correct. We're gonna be looking at the building.
So if the billboard's relocated, does that address your concern if it goes, if it's moved up 100 feet?
My concern is that it just stays off my property as it's clearing vegetation. So if he moves the billboard sufficiently far enough that he can maintain all the vegetation on his private property, it's fine with me.
And then a request to have additional screening or buffering there, that would no longer, that wouldn't be an issue.
Well, I mean, I personally, I see where it benefits him to cluster all of his vegetation in front. But I don't see how that meets the benefit to the neighboring town, neighbors as it was intended, but I'm not gonna raise a fuss about that. The township thinks that's an acceptable alternative.
So it seems like both sides are reluctantly agreeing to do that. I mean, where it seems like it would be, maybe, is it the best response of what we have here?
The general understanding of the relocation sign billboard, I thought, and there wasn't an issue from a zoning perspective.
Right.
Correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't want to speak for the screening aspect or the relocate, those are zoning items, which I'm not the decision we're going, so, but it was my understanding through initial respondents that the sign proposed relocation of billboard was clear think even through the townships, unless you're confirming certain aspects of it.
I think what Mike's asking is if the billboard's relocated, right? Are you asking for screening in addition to the billboard being relocated or not?
No. I'll be fine if you can move the billboard, that'd be satisfactory.
So that motion is.
Well, as far as any other items, related to that, there was some discussion, as you understand, on the lighting plan. There was an agreement to shift. Out of trying to improve all conditions for the adjacent property to the maximum extent, was to shift the one light fixture shown up there, closest to the residential property. As you can see, that one fixture is probably 15 feet off the pavement, point to it here. 15 foot off the edge of the radius of the proposed pavement. There is a subsurface stormwater facility that was one of the reasons to keep that away from the pavement in some respect, but it can be moved to the west, and the applicant had agreed, and the applicant's consultant agreed to shift that probably 10 feet further to the west to reduce any impacts from the lighting levels on any portion of that property. All lighting will be both full cutoff, shoebox style fixtures being current ordinance requirements. So I wanted to highlight that too, and make sure everybody was on the same page there. There was also, it was noted under the zoning section. Obviously, we are in the transition phase in the zoning. One of the, if you recommend conditional approval, would be one of the conditions confirming that there are no zoning issues relative to the plan. And I don't think I received a final statement to that effect. I don't know if Steve has. I don't know that there's outstanding comments that have not been addressed, but one thing would be to confirm there are no zoning items. One shift that is not reflected on this plan, but Steve has indicated through correspondence with our office at the pinch point of the retaining wall of the adjacent property to the north. The ordinance requirement in the zoning section is that any retaining wall be offset from the property line equal to its height. So as it's depicted up there, it's approximately 5 feet, the wall is approximately 8. He has indicated and revealed a concept where that can be adjusted to ensure compliance with that section. One of the other zoning statements in the letter, page 6, related to confirming that the miscellaneous storage areas and material storage, etc., is satisfactory to the township. That would be the area to the north of the residential lot. The township doesn't have any further questions or concerns relative to that area. The bottom portion of that comment related to potential stormwater impacts. And the applicant has added stormwater management note 7 to sheet 2 and expanded that any improvements in that area are not to be assumed, current improvements are not to be assumed as impervious cover for future. He can't come in and propose a building there and then claim that area is currently stoned or improved, and therefore, so that notation has been added. So I think that touches on the points that were emphasized at the planning commission level. So if you're interested in
That little bird's eye view that you just showed, could you show that so that we can see where that sign is where they're cutting down vegetation on his land to, it's a sign to be seen, because I can understand how that would be upset.
Signs, right?
So my property would be just, to the east side, just past the utility pole there. Or, I'm sorry, to the right of the page there.
Okay, and
That pole is very near the corner of the right of the line property.
Okay.
So if you look at it from the opposite face, Casey, you can see that you might be able to see the sign from the highway there. Across the back of my property. So he's been clearing the bank there.
move north of 10 to your
I own the property where the white vinyl fence is.
all right. And the billboard maintenance right away, I'll call it, is to the left of that pole or to the right? Do we know where that line is?
Well, the highway right away would be 30 feet from the center line of the highway.
Yeah.
So beyond that, it's not a problem. In relation to the pole, it's a few feet down the hill from the pole, so it extends off the page. So when PennDOT knows they know about, one strip across the bottom there, that's about where the right of way line would fall.
So by moving the sign to the north, changes the angle of the view shed and will hopefully eliminate.
Oh, what I'm trying to look at, and I hear your point, so with the owner of the property, we have his engineer, we have the next door neighbor with the board of supervisors, and we have the gentleman who's ultimately going to get pulled into, where does this?
Well, yeah, I think they're two separate, you have this issue, but the other discussion on the fence and the landscaping was the other party, which is not represented. That's the one I think Mike was more concerned about. I don't.
Yeah, I just want to make sure if we take the action and say the fence is fine, then that's gonna have to be the response of the township, but do this. Like if the planning commission, with the recommendation of the fence, but hey, try and work it out, you know how difficult that is to try and get that resolved, and it's even more difficult to enforce. So I just wanted to make sure we were comfortable with what we're going to require, so the applicant knows what he has to do and can proceed accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, as I understand, Mike, you said with the two parties here, this other issue with the billboard seems
Looks like
somewhat
that's
resolved.
Right.
Right. The one that you're afraid of being a problem in the future is more related to the fence around this. Was around that property right there. The North Williamstown Road, residential
I'm just trying to avoid grief for all parties involved moving forward. You know, we all know where we stand, and that's where we stand.
Yeah. So the fence would run, those shrubs would come down, the fence would run somewhere along there, and then along the back of that property.
Brent, I'm assuming there's a setback from the fence.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. I think it has to be out of the. Well, it would have height limitations until it's out of the front yard.
Yeah, I thought they weren't allowed in the front yards.
I think you're correct to a certain height. Maybe around that, some type of fence at a lower height, so. But the screening is primarily intended to serve around the residences and the key areas back in the backyard. Where does your fence stop currently along the side?
I think we have to go into the right way.
Or the storm
Hmm.
close to the.
It's close to the storm, but it's correct. Yeah. So it's a stop shot.
Yeah.
And you can see the front yard setback there too, so it's.
Yeah, it's somewhere around the front yard setback. And once again, this ties in with the final zoning officer confirmation, of everything in the midst of a transition,
Which is in your, referred to in your letter.
which is
So,
still was retained as a condition.
Right.
But along those lines, the applicants interested in proceeding to grant conditional approval to push to resolve these conditions. ASAP and allow them to proceed.
But again, I think what I heard was planning commission was okay for discussions with the fence.
Look, gentlemen, in all due disrespect, here's the deal. We start going down the road of planting plant material of adjacent properties that are involved with the current development. Where does that end? I mean, I can be sitting here saying, I want 40-foot trees blocking 6 beautiful railroad cars down the property. Where do you stop and end with this? If you put a 6-foot privacy fence up on the perimeter, that should suffice, but then who maintains all that stuff? That's planted on other people's properties. So I mean, I think the planning commission was appreciative of the fact that I said, let's take out small plantings around the perimeter and put in a privacy fence to give some privacy. But I mean, you can stand on your roof and still see adjacent properties. So I mean, I'm willing to work some with Barry. I'm not gonna plant $20,000 worth of trees in his backyard, but I would think a privacy fence would be better than anything. But where do you end with that? I mean, we really should be working within the parameters of the property lines for the current development. Should be done.
Right, I propose the way to address this is let's get a motion related to the property to the west.
Yeah, that's fine. We can
Okay,
do it.
let's get that one done first. Right.
So, yeah, the motion as initially drafted was to motion to grant conditional approval, preliminary final land development plan, land development, lot add-on plan for earth turf and wood conditioned upon the applicant consultant addressing all outstanding items outlined in the Becker Engineering LLC review letter dated June 8, 2021, to the satisfaction of tenants, zoning officer, tenants, solicitor, and township engineer. And then you can have whatever clarification, whether it be including the plan reflecting the proposed relocation of the billboard, whatever sub-conditions you want on there, we can send that.
I think the tree part that was thrown out, this sort of, that was part, that was going to be planted on the residential property, not on your property, is that what?
Yeah, I see, so that, yeah, it becomes a gray area, Mike. I
Right.
mean,
That's why I kind of
you
talked
start
about
playing around on other people's properties here, planting trees.
it. I mean, is there a way of saying, you know, up to a maximum of 5 trees in that area? Then if he doesn't want them, he doesn't, you don't plant them. If he does, you know, you're limited, doesn't open up a wall, or the, you know, the township would just consider the fence. That's the.
I think the township just considers the fence right now, and I'll sit down with Barry if he really wants it. But I mean, you guys get messed up with going on adjacent properties. I mean, Jeff's gonna be calling me next, saying, hey, while we're at it, you think you can come over and throw some Yoshino cherries in my front car? I mean,
To your point, yeah, you know, if you start planting trees and one dies and you're gonna replant.
you hit something, you put it down, stuff, I mean,
But you don't know. You don't know. Creates more confusion.
it does.
Yeah, I mean, then it just would be easier than to say you just want to go with the fence.
Just
Because
go
you
with
sit here and say you're gonna go talk to Barry, it creates even more confusion.
I
Still
think
with that.
leave that alone, and if Barry wants to come over and talk, I think I figure something out. We figured out the last few things when Alan and Barry and I got together. I mean, it's work, so just leave it alone.
So for the board, then the fence meets the requirement.
Yes, and just leave it at that.
Is that right, Brett? It means-
Here's the design,
Okay.
screen.
Well, that 6 foot, that should cover that,
Yeah.
that 6 foot.
So then most of you are there, the only thing right now that's added is the relocation of the billboard on our feet.
So that would be, the addition there, Brett, would probably be something along the lines of pending conditional approval, conditional township approval of the relocation of the billboard to the satisfaction of
So,
all parties. That would be the addition to that motion. Is that okay?
Sure.
Jeremy, right?
Yep.
So that takes care of that portion. And then on the fence side, it's just, yeah, we go with the fence.
that's zoning requires.
Yeah,
Sure. So
as required by zoning, and that's in his letter of June 8th anyway, so.
Yep.
Okay, I will make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll say.
we're all clear on this then. Everybody's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, Jeff, so for clarification here. So that motion is going to be added, conditional to the township approval of relocation of the billboard to the satisfaction of all parties. Good. And then the portion in the letter that related to the fencing is, actually, it stays the way it is in the letter because it already references zoning.
They show a fence, they show a fence height on the current plan, which is what the condition is approving, and then it has the condition that the zoning officer trees.
For the setbacks. Yep. Okay.
Good.
So I have a motion and I hear a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
All right, as a result of that motion, then there are others for administrative type that there have been financial security cost opinion provided. We confirmed an amount, so the motion would be to acknowledge the required amount of financial security to be established with the township for the preliminary final land development and lot add-on plan for turf wood in the amount of $471,845 per the opinion of probable cost prepared by Harbor Engineering dated June 30th, 2021.
Any questions on this motion? Do I have a motion?
Yes, I will make that motion.
And I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, motion carries.
Then the following four are related to authorizing future signature of plan so that we can simplify matters and not have to go back to the board. That would be a motion to authorize the board of supervisors to sign an improvement guarantee agreement, IGA, for the preliminary final land development lot add-on plan for Turf Wood Inc. When signed by the applicant, provided in a form accepted to the township solicitor along with required financial security, the form accepted to the township solicitor. Motion to authorize the board of supervisors to sign the stormwater management easement agreement for the preliminary final land development lot add-on plan for Turf Wood. When signed by the applicant, provided in a form accepted to the township solicitor. Motion to authorize the board of supervisors to sign the deeds of dedication related to the road right of way dedication along North Reachtown Road. To the preliminary final land development out plan for turf moving, signed by the applicant, provided form accepted the township solicitor. And motion to authorize signature of the preliminary final rate development of lot out plan for turf moving by the board of supervisors. Applicant adequately resolve all conditions of plan approval to the satisfaction of the township. Township building office, township engineer, township solicitor.
Any question on those motions? Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the motions as presented by the engineer.
And I will say. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, motion carries.
Next item on the agenda. Next item on the agenda, Dorma Gaba building expansion. There are representatives in attendance tonight for that project, or this morning. From David Miller Associates, Heck Construction, and Dorma. So the background on the project is the site's located off North Reedstown Road, just down the road towards Reedstown from the prior project discussed for Wood. Existing facility operating for years. They're proposing an expansion to the west, south side. Footprint of approximately 15,000 square feet. Total square footage of the addition would be about 26,000 square feet. Obviously, the site is currently occupied by building, parking, area around there, public water and sewer service. Project does not involve the need for an NPDES permit, since their total disturbance is less than an acre. They have secured their Lancaster County Conservation District adequacy for the erosion and sedimentation control. They have initiated some contact with the authority and indicating that they will not be creating additional sewer or water service demands or altering service lines. The authority did issue correspondence to us late yesterday that they may require some planned note adjustments, but we'll coordinate those with the authority and the applicant's engineer. The project does involve 3 waiver modifications. Summary of the project would be an area or by expanding in the southwest direction, it occupies an area that currently majority of which is paved, has employee parking and some truck maneuvering in that section. They have provided calculations documenting that the parking in the other portions of the site and limited parking provided as a result of this project in the area of addition are adequate to meet zoning ordinance standards. They have also documented to the satisfaction of the zoning officer that the oversized parking and loading area adjustments meet requirements. The fire marshal has reviewed the plan and concurred with vehicle maneuvering. So I think that's the general overview of that aspect of it. In order to address the stormwater, they are retrofitting the existing detention basin in the bottom portion of the site to provide additional capacity in the basin, provide some water quality aspects to meet current working requirements and reduce the size of the orifice to release the flow from the site. So I don't know if there's anything else Bill or the project team wants to highlight, or if you have any questions relative to the project in general and what the addition does for them, their involvement at that facility or manufacturing. They're all here and I'm sure willing, but
Good morning, I'm Bill
Good
Swear
morning.
with David Miller Associates. This is Derek Whistler with Dormer Kaba and Butch Wong with Tech Construction. And if you had any questions, the only item I will mention in addition to what Brent mentioned is we are also making some minor improvements to the walkway along Williamstown Road as required. But we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank
Yeah, one of the comments as part of the review was to make sure this ADA accessibility along the connection. Dorma owns the property where the facility is and also owns the stem of the private access drive containing their access drive out to North Greenstown Road. So Dorma Drive is Dorma Drive is actually owned by Dorma. As you can see, the curving to the one direction is a vertical curve and not at all ADA compliant. The other ramp on the left side of the screen, while it looks better, it's not ADA compliant to current standards. So we have raised that as part of the review, and they're willing to do some work there. We may need to coordinate with some of the adjacent property owners just to make sure they're informed, because some of the work, the majority of the work isn't road right away, but there are other features there. We'll work through that with the patient report. So we have agreed to incorporate those improvements.
So Dormer Drive is a private street.
Dorman Drive is a private street. And
They
then
provide the street sign.
Who's-
Or-
I can't answer that. It looks like we're yours.
We did replace the stop sign one time.
I think they've just applied the street signs there still. No, so I don't know if there's no other questions. We go into the other aspects of the project. I can highlight the four waiver modifications. Some are very similar to the other one. Once again, preliminary plan, no need to require a two-step process. Also, survey information has been deemed adequate, and that's primarily related to the fact they have a current point discharge from the basin. They're not altering that, and there's no real interest surrounding the property due to the existing nature of the site. Also the curb depth, and then also participating in LERTA, they have provided the application to the township, so those would apply. So there would be motion to approve waiver modification section 194.9A1 of the East Cocalico Township subdivision land development ordinance related to preliminary plan process, and authorize the plan to be submitted and reviewed as a defined plan meeting the requirements of both preliminary and final plan. Motion to approve a waiver modification section 194.14C4A. These Cocalico Township subdivision land development ordinance, section 185.14E4. These Cocalico Township stormwater management and earth disturbance ordinance related to depicting existing features within 200 feet of the subject properties, to authorize the applicant to provide topography in the area of the project site, depict GIS information surrounding the general project area as depicted on the current plans. Motion to approve a waiver modification section 194.33E1, these Township subdivision land development ordinance pertaining to vertical curb, to authorize the use of vertical curb with a total depth of 18 inches, and yield 8 inches on site, consistent with PennDOT standards in lieu of the township's 22-inch depth. And a motion to approve a waiver modification section 194.46. These have got a subdivision land development ordinance related to part of open space requirements, conditioned upon the applicant completing and submitting a letter application to the township, which has been. I would go to, I didn't mention it, but all these waiver modifications were recommended for approval by the planning commission on Monday, and the plan was also recommended for conditional approval.
Okay, any questions related to the multiple motions? No?
No.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the motions as presented by the engineer.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Next motion would be to recommend or to consider granting additional approval of the preliminary final land development plan for Norwood Kava, conditional on the applicant consulting addressing all outstanding items outlined in the Becker Engineering LLC review letter dated May 19th, 2021, to the satisfaction of township zoning officer, township solicitor, township. I don't know if they have resubmitted since our May 19th letter, and we have looked over the majority. I have not completed the review 100%, but we are pretty satisfied with the majority of the items already been addressed. But the appropriate reference for the motion is currently
The 19th. Okay. Any questions related to the motion? Do I have any? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
As a result of the conditional approval, that the financial security cost opinion, construction cost opinion that was provided, and reviewed by our office, will stand as it currently is. And therefore, the next motion would be to acknowledge the required financial security be established with the township for the preliminary final land development plan for Norwood Kava in the amount of $283,361.06 per the construction cost opinion prepared by DMA dated June 1, 2021, revised June 30, 2021.
Revised up or down?
Is there a preference?
There is.
No, there was a few items, ensuring that the entire scope is incorporated.
Any further questions on that motion? Okay, do I have a motion?
Also moved.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Then the administrative authorizations for future signatures would be a motion to authorize the board of supervisors to sign the approved guarantee agreement for the preliminary final land development plan for Norwood Kava and signed by the applicant, provided in a form accepted to the township and township solicitor, along with the required financial security in a form acceptable to the township solicitor. And a motion to authorize the board of supervisors to sign the scope work easement agreement for the preliminary final land development plan. Signed by the applicant, provided in a form acceptable to the township solicitor. And a motion to authorize signature of the preliminary final land development plan for Norwood Kava by the board of supervisors on the applicant adequately resolve all conditions of plan approval to the satisfaction of township zoning officer, township engineer, township solicitor.
Any questions on those three motions? Motion for the motions. I will make that. Do I hear a second?
Not that.
Okay. Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Did any of you know city people?
I know him from a lot of conversation, I know talking about.
He's, how old is he?
Oh, my. I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of guys I work with that are new.
Question, yes, sir.
No, you had a question, I thought.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Gentlemen.
Can I ask a quick question before we let Mr. Lee go?
Yes, sir.
In regards to, we were talking about the sign and maintenance of the bank, is there a township ordinance that requires homeowners to maintain banks like that above whatever PennDOT of the township maintains? Or is it just beautification thing homeowners should take care of?
Township has a vegetation ordinance.
Because I know like if I let my lawn get too long, I'll get a nice little reminder from the township saying, hey, don't be lazy, mow your lawn. So I didn't know if there's something along those lines or not, because there's a lot of banks in the township that are pretty unsightly. And promote maintenance, retention of trash and things like that. So I didn't know if there was an ordinance in place that says, look, you have to maintain it at a certain height, or every so often it has to be cleared.
I think there's somewhat separate issues, I think, as it related to that specific project, it was more than grass, it was all vegetation that would be removed, and so it's my understanding. So as far as just a general township vegetation, there is a ordinance or a requirement to mow area.
6 inches.
I would also note, though, and Ken could speak out from the stormwater side of things, there is some shifting to more certain areas being maintained more as a meadow and trying to alleviate some of the need to constantly mowing all areas all the time, but also being respectful of adjacent property owners and their concerns. So there are some competing interests there.
Yeah, to that point, the riparian buffer is something where, coming out from all streams and creeks, vegetation is encouraged. Any kind of shade put on running water is encouraged to keep.
And to be clear, I was not singling out that particular property there, I just brought that question to mind as we were discussing it.
Yeah. You working along a state highway there, where's their responsibility start to stop in their right of ways versus, our township.
I assumed anything above the state right away or above the township right away, the property owner.
Where do you start and stop?
Yeah, good point. Thank you.
Thank you.
So normally those things kind of evolve into complaints.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, last one on our list for this morning, as we continue up North Greentown Road, is spots of siding. I brought the properties up on Google Earth. So this is actually a pretty unique project where these are currently two separately deeded parcels. One's here, one's approximately here, and they are both under the same ownership. So it's currently being operated under one plan for two completely separate dwellings and stormwater management plans. Essentially, it involves construction of two separate dwellings on two separate 0.45 acre lots at 92 and 94 North Greentown Road. As I said, they're both owned by Fox Society Incorporated. They are both in the traditional residential or zoning district. It involves the demolition of an existing shop building here that's about a little over 1,000 square feet and associated driveway areas, and then the installation of approximately 1,300 square foot dwellings, associated driveway maneuvering areas, and it does account for a shed within the project. So here is the layout plan. One of the things here with this roadway, this curb is getting replaced, this sidewalk is getting replaced, two new driveways, the two new dwellings, conveyance system going back to two rain gardens, outlet structures, level spreaders. Dave Beast and I did go back and forth a little bit on some of the minimal grade changes that are along these rear portions to make sure that we match the post-development, the pre-development as closely as we could. So that's essentially the project. Like I said, it's very unique where one owner would have two separately deeded properties at the same time, looking to develop them at the same time. So this is why some of these items will be incorporated in these motions as such. For instance, this plan will incorporate two separate cost opinions, two separate IGAs, and two separate stormwater management easement agreements, but will be operating under this one plan. Dave, if anything else you want to add, to start going through. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss here, when we were going through our preliminary analysis of the site, this concrete curb that is being proposed to be removed is being proposed to be replaced in kind. So right now, the curb reveal is approximately 5 inches in in vertical depth. Most likely because North Reedstown Road was overlaid so many times for so many years. We were proposing, and we were okay with it on keeping that same reveal. So around the inlet, the inlet would be sunk, but the rest of the concrete curb would be to match the existing reveal instead of pulling that curb up another 2 inches. Just want to make sure that that was okay with the board. Doesn't need a formal acknowledgement, just want to make sure that matching the existing reveal in that area on North Reedstown Road was appropriate in your sense as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So it's similar to what Brent had done. I'll go through, I'll try and group these motions together. So I'll group the first one, the conditional approval, and the rest of them we'll talk about. So the first, the only waiver modification as part of this plan would be a waiver modification of section 187A1A4 of the East Valley Stormwater Management and Earth Disturbance Ordinance related to minimum pipe diameter, and allow a minimum pipe size of 8 inches within areas of their access drive / parking lot. So again, the ordinance requirement, I believe, is 15 inches based on the volumes and areas going through these inlets. It does not need to be that large. So the applicant is requesting a waiver modification of that section of the ordinance.
From 15 to 8.
It would be a minimum of 8, yes. So it would be from, the ordinance requires 15, but they're requesting that the minimum pipe size be 8 inch PVC.
It's not a big deal. Okay. You grouping them?
I was gonna keep that one separate since that's a lower amount.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will make a motion to approve as stated.
Any other comments, questions? I will second that. All in favor?
Then
Motion carries.
I'll probably give the next 2 separate just because they're unrelated. So the next motion will be to conditionally approve the stormwater management plan for plot deciding, condition upon the applicant addressing all items outlined in the Becker Engineering review letter dated June 28, 2021, to satisfaction of township zoning officer, township engineer, and township solicitor. To date, we haven't received a final from the township zoning officer or the authority. There are some other very minor administrative comments that were in that letter, but essentially what's on this plan is very, very, very close to being finalized.
Any questions or comments on that? Do I have a motion? I will make that motion.
And I'll second that.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And the next 4 I'll group together since they are more administrative items. The first motion would be to acknowledge the required amount of financial security to be established with the township for the stormwater management plan plots and siding in the amount of $25,204.84 for lot 1 and $22,078.41 for lot 2, per the approved opinions of probable construction costs prepared by Dean Sons dated June 29th, 2021. The next group motion would be to authorize the board supervisors to sign the improvement guarantee agreements, IGAs, for lot 1 and lot 2 related to the stormwater management plan for plots and siding, when signed by the applicant and provided in form of the township and township solicitor, along with required financial security in the form acceptable to township solicitor. Next motion to authorize the board supervisors to sign the stormwater maintenance easement agreements for lot 1 and lot 2 related to stormwater management plan plots and siding, when executed by the applicant in the township or form acceptable to township solicitor. And the last motion here would be to authorize signature of the stormwater management plan for plots and siding by the board of supervisors on the applicant adequately involved with all conditions of plan approval to the satisfaction of the township zoning officer, township engineer, and township solicitor.
Okay, any questions, comments?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You received these financial security estimates the day before yesterday. You've had sufficient time to review them and you're comfortable with them?
Yes, we actually, we just received the last 3 projects are occurred from the Zoom College in plots and siding the last 2 days to make sure we had those motions before this morning's meeting. So we did hustle and review all those items. So we're satisfied with them.
Thank you.
What constituted the different cost estimates between the two lots?
Off the top of my head, I can pull up, if you'd like, I think the biggest thing right there is just this inlet. This inlet top is being replaced, the one that's already in the roadway is being replaced in kind, it's gonna have a brand new inlet top type C, instead of having a brand new curve going to an existing inlet top, we're gonna have a brand new inlet top, a brand new curve, and I think that's the majority. Obviously, there's some, when you break these things out, the quantities and square footage of some items may be a little different, such as, pipe length. That inlet is the majority of the difference of the cost fittings.
Erosion control measures also are different for each lot.
Right. Okay. There's a stone construction entrance on lot one. There is not one on lot two. That's
Enough.
All right, any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve as listed by the engineer.
And I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries.
right. If there are no final questions with those projects, that's all from the land planning team.
That's all.
That's all. That was it. You saved the best for last.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on, the U.S. Banking Trust Company Signature Authorization. Let's see if I can look at that.
Yeah, if you recall, at the previous meeting, in anticipation of getting our funding from the state, from the federal government through the state for the ARPA funds, we have created this account, and this is adopted a resolution making the board of supervisors act as authorized agents to sign this money market account. We are, I believe, we have received the first half of those funds in place, so we will receive the second part next year. That was over 500,000 that we got into this year. So more of a procedural item to make sure that now it's created, we can sign, you guys have decided.
Okay, so you need a motion for that.
Yeah,
So I will, any questions, comments? I will make a motion for authorization of resolution 2021-07 related to Univest Bank and Trust for the signatures. Do I have a second? All right, So rewording that, motion to adopt resolution 2021-07, Univest Bank and Trust Corporate authorizing naming the current East Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors to act as the authorized agents and signers on the newly established money market account for ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act.
And make that motion, I will second that.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Quick question on that. How many signatures are required to do anything with that account? All three needed?
All three. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Okay, next item.
yeah, during our recent pension board review meeting, the issue concerning other post-employment benefits for the police department was raised. And the good news, which I know that the pension consultants will be submitting some final documentation to the committee, and then be given a recommendation to the board to consider. But our plan is in very good shape, and we have some significant opportunities moving forward as a township to make sure we can try to address and identify and plan for other liabilities that may come up, particularly the other one that we have is the post-employment health insurance. So it was discussed sort of unofficially at that meeting about looking into trying to find out what exactly that liability will be for the township. And it was discussed that there was a proposal submitted earlier this year from Randy Siegel, consulting actuary to Foster and Foster Actuaries and Consultants, to prepare a report analyzing the township other post-employment benefits, police, retiree healthcare, to determine a liability commitment to the township. That cost for that proposal was $3,750. The discussion, and I think one thing that we're proposing is that, since we don't have exactly what that liability is, knowing that we're coming into an opportunity to sort of get ahead and plan accordingly, it would be ideal to find that information out so that as we are going into our budget and looking into next year, that we're beginning those steps to identify that liability and to make sure we plan to be able to cover it. So in order to move ahead with that, we would need a motion from the board to contract with that group to do that study at a cost of $3,750.
The idea here, Mike, is just to kind of take some of the shotgun approach out of it and define the numbers more in years to come.
Good.
Good. Actually, it's not that. It's that during the, there was really never a modeling methodology or analysis done for what is your liability exposure related to post-pension. Receiving the pension in terms of what are those outstanding liabilities related to those medical plans. So now this gives us an opportunity. The pension committee met on the 23rd of June. And this gives us an opportunity now that we are now strategizing over what forecasting we're looking at, what modeling we're looking at. Now that we're looking into the future, we're finally at that phase. What are those open liabilities?
So you're taking into account years of possible usage of the plan, livability
Correct.
of the other people there, increase in cost per individual over the.
You're looking at things like lifespans, you're looking at things like health factors, you're looking at a number of issues that you're going to need an actuarial true study of what are those open potential liabilities and impacts in the future.
How far out are the projections here going to go with that? Or, are you just looking at an accurate couple of year projection, or is it, well, projection is just a projection?
Yeah, it's a projection.
Yeah.
I just think that I'm in total agreement with recognizing that if we're going to have these costs, then let's at least have some projection on what those will be. And then for budgeting, you can better understand how much money we'll take, where's it going to come from, et cetera. There's a lot of municipalities out there that have not even begun any kind of an OPEB overview yet. And health insurance is a big bouncing ball in Washington, D.C., but I don't see it getting smaller quicker.
No. Obviously not.
Has there been any discussion in regards to this on how often a study like this should be done? It's, to me, it wouldn't be a once and done thing because the pensioners are going to continue to age and their costs are going to continue to change.
They will continue to age. What will change is what's called the census. And the census is the people that go on the plan. How many of them are there? How old are they? And how do they impact the actuarial component? I believe this outfit will be using actuarial lifetime from 2010. I believe that's one of the latest that's out there. I don't know that it has to be done often, like once every 5 or 10 years.
I guess that's what I was questioning. Is there any thought to, is this a yearly thing, every 2 years, every 5 years, we'll look at it and see how it affects?
Yeah, our Gerard, our plan provider and our managers, they will go ahead and do that based on what the needs are. And those actuarial tables, Greg, I believe just in terms of, I hate to say it, but fatality index, just that alone, they don't calculate those for,
Right.
I think at the earliest, it's every 8 or 10 years,
Yeah.
I believe. So you don't even have doing it annually makes no sense because nobody has done the analysis of how long is this average individual living?
Yeah, and then my company has to plan it up at every 5 years. So I was curious if you had anything like that or thought discussion in there.
No, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
So is there a range? I know that with actuators, they kind of give you a finite. Is there going to be like a high low so that way you can see like what the delta is between the two? Because there are going to be changes, right? This is a projection. We all know that projections change and based on history and stuff like that, but at least have that range.
That question is best answered after there's some action items that Gerard's going back with that they're looking at.
I would just ask, what are those action items if they can provide that to me as far as like outliers and so on and so forth?
Yeah, they're gonna have that in their analysis.
Okay.
That's part of the actuarial analysis, that then gets rolled into our pension, basically into our pension assumptions.
Sure, I never seen them before, so I did from a standpoint, so.
Well, as the two of them said, the markets have been kind.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who have 401ks that look a whole lot better than they looked several years ago. And it's an opportunity right now. To address costs that are going to go away, so you might as well at least address that, recognize it.
And so Mike, what do you need with that? You need a,
Yeah, we just look for a motion to contract with Randy W. Siegel, consulting actuary, Foster Actuaries Consultants, to prepare a report analyzing the township's other post-employment benefits, police retired healthcare at a cost of $3,750.
right, and just so we're clear for the public, that is the recommendation from the pension committee.
Right, yeah. And it came out of the pension committee discussion, and now they are gonna make a formal recommendation once some of these other documents come back in from Gerard to the full board, considering the overall pension, but it was clearly identified, that this is the time to do this.
Do I hear a motion for that?
So,
Okay, and I will second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
We've only had 2 down markets the last decade, so it's time to.
Well, there's a lot more factors than just the market.
Of course not,
On this
but
pension.
I'm just going off of what Craig said.
I mean, historically, there's a lot more factors than just the markets.
I understand, I was just addressing what Craig said.
So, Mike, next item we have here, the traffic impact fee.
Correct. Yeah, the township was approached by a potential developer with some questions concerning the methodology and some determination on how the transportation impact fee, the TIF monies are calculated, how they can be used, how that may be something that could be combined with obviously looking at development moving forward. There were a series of items that were discussed by the at the sort of individual meeting. There was items that were discussed with the consultants, both the engineer and the attorney for the TIF, normally the TIF who works with that, and the advisory committee. And it was discussed that the board should look into maybe having this discussion today about these concerns, these methodology questions, and how we want to move forward. How we want to maybe look to engage the TIF advisory committee, how we want to be responsive to what's being asked, and also get a chance to clarify some things that maybe over the course of last year remain sort of still nebulous. One of those being the funding sources, where the monies have been brought in, what has been spent, how they're allocated by the different districts, just so all people involved can see what exactly is there, looking at the plan now, and then just kind of developing maybe a process moving forward for how we want to try to impact or implement this impact program. So I don't know if you guys want to jump onto that and go from there and have a discussion and see which direction you want to go.
Well, I would like to at least start with what you said there about, we sort of had individual meetings. In this room, each supervisor met with a representative from the developer
Benderson.
and a legal beagle for that.
Just a development group.
And the three of us were not in the room, not even two of us were in the room at the same time. When I was in here, it was me, two from the Benderson group. For some reason, Chief Keckley sat in, and Tony Walker. And we heard from them what they wanted to do. And it was done that way so that we weren't in violation. It was neat and clean.
So let me add to that. Find my note here. So on April 26th, Benderson approached, I sit on, we have the business liaison list that we created with Alan, Doug, and myself. Okay. I'm one of the supervisors that sits on the liaison list for Benderson. On April 26th, they came in, they met, we had a conference call with them, Tony and I did, related to the project out here at Colonel Howard Boulevard. They currently have a project, it's a confidential project right now, because of some NDAs that they have signed due to competition factors from whoever the tenants are, okay? So on the 26th, they basically, they asked us a couple of questions related to TIF. Tony summarized that fairly well in an email on April 29th. And then I then also provided an email, followed up to the board, a separate email for informational purposes on what the question, what Benderson was asking. The explanation was again provided on May 18th. And then we had the meeting with the separate, as Craig was referring to, on June 2nd, related to the Board of Supervisors meeting independently. The questions from Benderson are very simply, and that's what Mike's referring to, is what's our methodology? All Benderson is asking for is you guys have a TIF program, and I'm summarizing. We have a TIF program. They've calculated whatever the value is for that project, X dollars. If that project requires X dollars plus 10, how do we apply the TIF as East Cocalico Township? Does the TIF that they pay get applied towards that project, specifically theirs, and we cover the difference if that's required? So the question they're asking is a methodology question. It's been the question they've been asking since April 26th. The difficult part of this is they're under extreme pressure and a deadline to be done from their customers because, quite frankly, we haven't given an executive level opinion or decision about how the TIF is going to be applied. That's where we are. And I will state it openly and publicly right now, myself personally, I've said it with Benderson. We've spent time and money with engineers, we've spent time and money with attorneys. They've come back and the last email that I just saw basically says, I will read it. The conclusion is blah, 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 quote, any flexing of the TIF would be a board policy decision, period. So we're right back to, it's an executive level decision. As we mentioned from the very beginning, the problem we have now is we're in May, June, July, we're 3 months into, we have Benderson waiting. And I last spoke with Kim a week and a half ago, who's their lead project guy. And he said that they are that close to losing their accounts because they can't afford to wait anymore. So how is TIF applied? In my opinion, if somebody's paying the TIF on a project for that property, I believe that TIF should be applied also to that property.
How's it been applied previously?
I'm sorry for this one. Can we get some names, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Alan Maxwell.
Yes, sir.
How's it been applied in previous projects of this size? I'm assuming this is quite a large project. That they would be bringing you.
No projects of this size. No.
So this is larger than anything in the township. So the next closest size would have been, say, somewhere like Four Seasons. How was the TIF applied in that case? Was it applied to that project or was it not?
Not sure. That was part of the executive package we were waiting for in terms of how everything was applied, when it was applied, where it was applied, over what time frame was applied, what the current balances are.
So the TIF committee can't provide any of that information? There's no records of it?
There are open action items out there that haven't been completed.
So that's on us, the township, for dragging our feet. We're not getting the job done.
I believe I just described that.
Okay, so what can we do? What changes have to take place to get the job done? The town, if this is such a major project in the township, afford to lose that kind of tax increase by dragging our feet?
Need an executive level decision. I've already made that. I made it back on April 26th, and I made it very clear in the last 3 months how I believe the TIF should be applied.
So what's the holdup?
I'm one.
We got two other supervisors sitting right here. Both of you can freely speak your opinion on it. Why have we not acted on this yet?
What are the pros and cons?
We've not acted on it. I'll speak for myself, not Mr. Mitchell. I've not acted on it yet because we've not had this open and honest dialogue with the public. I believe that it is an executive decision, but when you're talking about TIF money in high triple digits, is that a fair number?
Yeah.
Yeah, high triple digits. I think that you discuss it, and I'm a tad surprised that we've not had, that we're supposed to carry the water, if you will, for Henderson to the public, that Henderson, for whatever reasons, has not come, or I don't know if the events we put on the agenda or not. The work at Four Seasons, let's just say the work at Four Seasons or any other project, including this one, pales when compared to what's on Buddy Creek. Okay, that's 780 trucks a day. So any project pales to 35 acres under roof. Out of Four Seasons, he had to do that work. It's the key. Four Seasons had to do that work. There's a signal there, there's left turn lanes in 272.
But he did pay a TIF for that project, correct?
Yes. He did, but he made the improvements. I will tell you that one of the cautions that I've asked, and I can't get an answer to, from either our traffic engineer or legal people, is if we become the builder of the road or the road improvement, okay, then I believe we'll have to pay scale. And
Any
scale
project
is
of that nature would be scale, yes.
well, the mere fact that we do it, if the private company does it, I don't believe they have to pay scale. That's, and I'm not pulling myself on that fidelity. I'm just telling you that I believe that if we do it, we would have to take scale. And that's about 30%. I think I'm close with that. When I brought that up at my meeting with Benderson's, the response I got was, well, your TIF should take that into account. We hope that you have that, factored in.
The two let me add something here and I'll get right to it. The two fundamental issues here for Benderson is they are currently running the modeling for their leases. Can't complete the modeling to give proposals to their decade-long tenants without knowing what are the base costs. So all they've asked us for is, what is our methodology in terms of, fine, we'll give you a check for the TIF. What I need to know is, do you apply it to my project? Or do you collect the traffic impact fee, whatever the number is that's calculated? We're not discussing the details behind the number, we're talking methodology,
Right, I understand that.
okay? Or do you take that TIF, put it in a bank account somewhere else to be used somewhere else, and we are responsible for all of it anyway, plus the TIF? That's all they're asking for. They need that answer so they can run their model.
But I guess it leads back to my question is, if they're asking for the methodology and we're like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Does that mean we've never applied the methodology before at all?
It's a board policy, decision, and we're allowed to give our opinions, and my opinion on it is, I don't see any problem with applying it.
So again, it goes back to why haven't we acted? It's been 3 months. They said they're very close to losing this customer. Why are we dragging our feet?
First of all, Benderson's been here for 10 years. This is not new news to them. They're playing games with you guys right now. The second point is, you know what the methodology is. Don't sit up there and think that you're reinventing the wheel or you're learning how to walk on water. There is a methodology to this, and it's all explained in our TIF program. It says there are 3 zones, and that money can be used in that zone where they're in, or if needed, it can be used elsewhere. Now, if I know that, you guys need to know that. I haven't heard one word out of you two. What do you think? Do you like the TIF or don't you? It's a yes or no answer. Don't go into a dialogue. Yes or no?
Well, we're talking about a specific project.
I'm asking you a question. Do you like TIF or don't you?
Let's deal with.
I raised my hand
No.
10 minutes ago, and I still
Yeah, and I'm
haven't.
sorry, Lorenzo, you did. I apologize.
I raised it like 10 times, nobody called on me, everyone's
Go ahead.
saying what they want to say. So I'm a local business owner, I paid into TIF, okay? And there is a methodology, I looked into it. It seems to me of what I'm hearing in this meeting, because it's the first time I'm hearing about Benderson coming back into town. It seems like they're asking for a favor right now, okay? Why aren't we on the board, why aren't you guys on the board favoring local small businesses that make this township rather than Joe Schmo from Las Vegas coming into town and wants to spend a couple $1 million and giving him a favor? It doesn't work that way. That's the way I think. And I'm a local business owner, and there's gonna be a lot of people coming here raising issues that you guys, if you guys do a favor to Benderson. Now, if you either get a game plan with TIF and you make it right, or you get rid of it. It's 2 things. You like it or you don't like it. We can't keep going around the bush and favoring certain people and certain things. The rules are the same for everyone. I don't care who it is. Now, you either say TIF's on or you say TIF's off, period.
Okay.
That's why nothing has been developed there.
Let me make a clarification legally for the record. There are no favors being done by this board or by anyone here. Legally for the record,
That's fine.
I take exception to the language you're using. It has major legal implications.
I've been here 16 years. I've seen a lot. That's why I'm getting involved.
Okay, what Benderson has asked us for is they're doing modeling. They're trying to figure out their numbers over time as to how much they're going to charge or however they do their modeling. What their land lease values are, how far they're going to go out in time, that's what they're looking for. So all they're asking from the board is our opinion when the TIF is given. How do we apply the TIF? Exactly what I stated before. Is it applied on their property? In this case, because of the amount of things that have to be done, or is it applied where, just like you described, you paid the TIF, it goes into an account and it's used later?
But if we have established methodology, what's the holdup in giving him that
Well,
methodology?
the problem also is, I've been here 17 years now. If Doug's here, he could probably say yes or no if I'm right or wrong. If I'm not mistaken, back in the day when Benderson first came and said they wanted to do a shopping center here, right? TIF wasn't even, they had a waiver that TIF would have been waived if they would have did it by a certain date. Now, if they've been here over 10 years, why did they wait so long? Now this is what East Cocalico Township put in play. And it's here, it's on the table. Every other little guy has to follow. So that's where I'm saying the word favor. I didn't say it in a bribing way. They've had contact with East Cocalico for way before TIF was even in here. And they knew they had a deadline, correct? They knew they had a deadline. That deadline expired and now they're here asking for a favor. There's no leaning left or right. It's clear as day.
Well, look, maybe they're not asking for a favor, but they're asking you to give an opinion in their favor.
Well, and the other
That's
thing,
not what they're asking for.
the other thing is,
Then give them our methodology. Unless we've inconsistently applied that methodology over the years and we don't want that coming out.
I can answer that question. That has not been, it's been applied universally. There's been no favors issued.
Provide them with methodology.
The thing that I need to express to everybody in this room is the fee that is given to a developer is not based on the amount of money they're going to spend on the project. Has nothing to do with that. They're apples and elephants. It's based on out of an engineer handbook, which is a nationally recognized handbook, and the acronym is ICE. They take trips during a certain period of every day, in and out, egress, ingress, and that's what it's based on. So every time these guys change a modeling, it goes from a shopping center to a strip mall with 50 stores in it. All that modeling changes. That's a constant flowing ebb and flow. You need to bring a plan to us that says it's going to be this, then I can give you a number for a TIF fee. You can't, our TIF committee cannot give a number to anybody unless they have a dead set plan. It's a crapshoot.
So that should be the board's stance.
They are not asking for a specific number.
Well, okay, and that's fine. But what does the TIF say, Robin? What does it say? How's it going to be?
Doug, I concur with what you said.
But say it out loud. What's it say? That you can use it to their plan or you can spread it around to anybody in that
Absolutely.
zone.
In that zone, as long as it's you,
So-
absolutely correct.
That's the end of the story.
If they're not asking for us to bend the rules for them, they're just asking for the methodology on how we apply the TIF. Why can't we give that to them?
I completely agree with you, Doug. It states as long as it's utilized in that zone, done.
Right. They're asking for something that is, the TIF doesn't provide right.
And that's
It's pretty
very
simple.
Here's, we just got, there's been some emails flying around between the engineers to be transparent about different facts about TIF and what's eligible. To your point, being there is no plan submitted yet, there are improvements out in the boulevard area that are not TIF eligible.
Right. That's correct, in the boulevard.
There's multiple ones there. There was only one or two that are TIF eligible. And we don't have a plan in front of us with any kind of definitive parameters there that say, here's what we have to do. And is the TIF eligible money for that? We don't have it. It's just pie in the sky we're talking about at this point.
Well, there is a plan that's broken down by years for projects in the TIP. Some of them have already gone and passed. We, you know.
Well,
the TIP, I said they
the
were gonna do something, and I don't know what they are. My wife's on the committee, and I read that stuff every once in a while. But some of them were 2019. They came and went. Nothing ever happened.
There's items on the list, Doug, that go back, I'm looking at it to 2014,
Okay,
that haven't been done.
right.
Here's another recent clarification as well. The years on that list there that are projected out on there, they're just there for projections.
That's all they are.
They're not, it's not anything written in concrete that it has to be in that order that it be done in. It's completely at board discretion.
Well, and just so everybody's clear, the TIF committee is separate from the board of supervisors.
It is.
And they sit down and they look in a cloudy crystal ball, as you were, and say, well, there's umpteen houses projected out on this end of the town. What do the roads look like between here and there? And how's the traffic going to impact? And that's what they're trying to project. Where do we want to spend this money? Does it cause us to make 272 a 3-lane highway? Now that won't happen because it's a state road. But if it were a township road, we're gonna have to make that thing 3-lane highway instead of 2. How much is that gonna cost? Because all of that, that's what they're being charged to do. And it is a projection. It's a moving target. I mean, there is, like Jeff said, the infrastructure is in place out at the Colonel Howard Boulevard, but you know, they just put the diverging diamond in down at Effort. We were gonna get that first. The thing that moved it from us to them was they had fatalities down there. That's a hang of a thing to have. People gotta die before something happens, but that's the way it works.
Traffic too.
That's the way it works. And so the state moved it down to them because they had fatalities. Had we had those fatalities, we'd have the diverging diamond, which would null and void half the stuff that's on that TIF out that project. Because it was tore it all.
It still goes back to my question, if we have methodology that we've used on other projects, why can't we just give that to them if they're not asking for a specific number, because they've not submitted plans?
Because we don't know what they're projecting.
But that's on them, they're asking for methodology, they're not asking for a cost, they're asking for our methodology,
They're
which
asking
they
for
would probably
methodology.
estimate with their.
I have answered my opinion on our methodology to Benderson. Benderson has not gotten an opinion from others.
So you're speaking for the board.
No,
He's speaking for himself.
no,
Okay, so why hasn't
absolutely.
the board issued that opinion to them? Because they're asking for board opinion.
They asked us independently for each of our own opinions. That was the purpose of the meeting independently. So now it's up to the board to give an opinion.
So why haven't we done that yet?
I've asked them for their top 5 questions in writing. I've yet to get them.
We have those, Craig. I'm sorry, we have all of them in writing. There were 2 questions.
But did they just come in or have you had it in a while?
Since April 26th.
So we've had their top question since April 26th and we've not addressed it.
Well, I've not received them.
Why?
Your own copy of the emails.
I'm looking, personally, I'm not looking to set a precedent here. You know, the township in the past, I'm not aware, and maybe our historians here could help me a little bit with that, whether we have had a developer use their TIF money for their road improvements. I have not seen that. Maybe it's happened, but I've had numerous discussions with Mike in the last 2 weeks since he's been on board about this, and you know, we've been managerless. I hate to come up here and make excuses, but
Yeah.
you know, we've had a police chief trying to help out, but you know, in reality,
The questions have made their rounds, the questions have come back, and we're back at square one, quote from John Schick. Any flexing of their TIF would be a board policy decision, period. Yes,
Just to address what Jeff said. I'm not gonna name the developer, it's not fair to that person. But there's a developer in this township who has, part of his TIF was to put X number of dollars aside for a traffic improvement off his site. Not anywhere near to his site, probably within 2 miles of his site, and he did. So to answer your question, yeah, I mean, we've done this in the past. These guys have put money in the TIF, and in that instance, that fee was $120,000. That might be not a lot of money to you, but it's a lot of money to me. That wasn't anywhere within 2 miles of his site.
and that,
So, you
and that-
know,
It was in his zone though,
it was in his zone.
then that covers what the methodology would be, so why can't we just tell him that?
and that concurs with everything we've gotten back, maxing of the TIF.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you, Doug.
Because we have that TIF money in a separate account, right?
So we're not gonna give them an opinion on it, I'll just go back to them and say, here's what we need, if you want an opinion from us, we need this from you, present plans to us. You know, if they're just in the modeling phase, are they really committed to doing the project?
They have a tenant that wants a grand opening by May of next year, and they can get it done.
Well, that puts the onus on us then to either get their answers to them or shut it down.
Yes, sir.
So again,
You're looking at me, yes, sir.
I'm looking at all three of you up there.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be sarcastic to anybody,
No.
if we have this project in place that we've sat on for 3 months,
But there's that on the
and they've been on it for 20 years, they came to us in April, and presented this new, quote unquote, new
but they
plan. So past history, we cannot bring into it because we're looking at the new plan, the new proposal, whatever you want to call it.
everything goes down for them.
So we've been sitting on it for 3 months. And they want to get it done by May of next year. We need to make a decision. And either move forward or pull back from it. I don't want to see us lose anything in the township, but I agree with Lorenzo that we have to look out for the township.
But we gotta also be pro-business.
Very much so.
But like Craig, how didn't you see these emails back from April? If RC just said you were copied to them. Not to put you on the spot.
No.
Because everyone's gotta be on the same page
No, I
if
agree.
we want this to move forward. Right now, I've just heard from one person that he wants to move forward. Everyone else, have they answered? Have they not seen them? Is it in their spam? Like, where are we at?
When I met with them, I asked them for their question in writing. I asked it from them. I didn't get it. I've asked if they've met with PennDOT, because all 60 acres have frontage on state highway. We can say it's a methodology issue. What I will tell you is that I feel like I'm being asked to give something in haste without being able to get answers to some questions, simple ones like, have you met with PennDOT? What did PennDOT say? Were we invited? Why weren't we invited? If there was such an audience, I can't find out.
Have we asked them that question? Why haven't you answered our questions yet?
I have not contacted.
RC said they were answered, that's why I'm asking you. That he said they were answered, but what I'm trying to get to is why haven't the other people seen the responses RC said that they were given? Were they not specific to you or Jeff or RC, or was they in just general and he saw them, you guys did it? Like, where are we at here? Like, It
I don't
takes,
think that's the case. That would mean email servers not working properly.
that's what I'm saying. And if it's there, obviously it's working. So what I'm saying is we gotta work as a team here to get it done. If there's no team, you ain't getting nowhere. And I've been here 17 years and this property, the weeds keep getting higher and higher and higher. We don't see nothing happen. You go to Effort, you get anything you want.
Well, I'm not
We're
sure.
not saying they're right or wrong.
I'm not saying that.
Don't misunderstand. Mr. Eversole says.
Why can't we have it here? That's my, why can't we have it here? And I have a business
Well,
in
the
here.
original plan for here was what ended up in Morgantown, as the Morgantown Outlet Mall, proposed by a gentleman by the name of Chet Long. I'm kind of glad we didn't end up with the Morgantown Outlet Mall.
But we're 20, 30 years ahead here. Like, we gotta think, we gotta think what needs to happen now. Someone needs to read these emails, reply back, and let's get somewhere. We're waiting on a response. Yes or no? It's plain and simple. If you have another question to their answer, ask it. Let's get moving.
Let's. Okay, we've, once again, we've seen no plan. There's some of these improvements out there are not TIF eligible. They're not. We have not been in a PennDOT meeting with them, have we, to see which ones that we can correlate with our CIP to know, well, okay, this is TIF eligible, this isn't. We're running in a bit of a void here of information. We absolutely are.
You're asking for the specifics behind the plan. They're not at the plan.
How do you know any of their improvements?
I beg to differ. If they want to break
You don't
ground
know
and have
that.
a grand opening by next May, they most definitely have plans developed and printed out. There's no way a year from the grand opening, they don't have them done.
We do not know for sure if any of their improvements that are necessary are TIF eligible.
Right.
We don't know that. You can't say that.
And
And it's a valid concern.
all they have asked us for is when we write a check, once again, it's methodology so they can do their models, so they can figure out how much they're going to charge their tenant if the project is even feasible.
So what is our methodology? What have we done in the past?
We keep diving into the details of the plans, we keep diving into mathematical calculations on the TIF, and that's not what
My
they're asking.
question is not asking details of the plan.
And
My question is asking methodology. If we have an established methodology, why can't you just tell them, this is the method we would use in the event that you submit plans for
I
construction?
believe Mr. Mackley's already answered that, so,
Well,
But you're the chairman, so I mean.
He's not on the board, sir. I'm talking to the
Yeah,
board.
it was.
yeah, but as to.
I have provided my opinion. I'm waiting for my fellow board members to provide theirs.
I asked the question in general, the board, if we have an established methodology, what is it? What have we done in the past?
It's exactly what I stated 3 times earlier. We have the flexing ability of where to apply the TIF and how.
That's not answering my question. How have we applied it in the past to larger projects?
Doug just gave an example on
We've
one
always been
project.
flexible.
It's always been flexible.
We've always
And then that would be our response,
Mr.
wouldn't it?
Maxwell, I'm sorry. The question's been answered. He even gave the example related to.
We danced around the answer.
No, he gave a direct answer related to a business that provided it and money was set aside
Mr.
for
Mackley,
a red light.
yes.
Yeah, and as.
The board has not answered the question.
I have
So
answered.
we can move on if you wish, but
I
it's
have
not a
answered
subject
the
that's gonna
question.
die.
I have answered the question numerous times by, once again, let me state it
Are you the
again.
board, sir?
Speaking for himself.
I'm
You're a member
speaking,
of the board.
yes.
I'm asking for a board answer.
Okay, so that means you need an answer from Mr. Eversole.
Right,
You need
and if
from
we
Mr.
can't have it today, that's fine, but it's not a subject that's gonna go away.
Oh, absolutely not. It can't. It can't. We can't afford to let. a
So I think
project
the
like
board
that go.
needs to make a decision collectively that they will come up with an answer individually, collectively, so we can move forward.
We
Or
can't afford to let a project like that go, because you know what? Our costs continue to increase, our
Exactly.
carrying costs increase, our infrastructure is aging, all of that is.
all of that is understood. That's one of the reasons I decided to step up and get involved with township.
Can they come here to improve.
I'm sorry,
communication.
Doug, I'm
No,
sorry.
let her go.
I'm trying to keep it in order.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if they can come here just to improve communication. So it's in person.
They're out of Florida and stuff.
I mean, if it's that important, can they send somebody?
They flew up to meet with us individually.
Is that standard practice for businesses to meet individually with the Board of Supervisors?
That happens, yes.
I didn't ask that, is it standard practice? And I would feel if it's worth their while to come up to meet with you guys individually, it'd be worth their while to gain public opinion on their side.
How about a phone conference?
Yeah, video, zoom in.
You know, I'm not interested in using TIF money for projects or intersections that are not TIF eligible. And I think that's part of the methodology we're talking about here. You know, the program was created for that reason, to use it on TIF identified projects. You know, this is kind of an open-ended question in a way about methodology. You know, are we changing the methodology now to use it on unrelated, unavailable TIF projects? I don't.
That open a whole can of worms you don't.
I don't think so. I mean,
RC, just to, I don't want to get in a urinating contest here with anybody, but you know, I understood what Jeff's saying, but the state can't tell us where to spend the money. It's not, the state and us are separate. So, you know, we're spending this in zones. Forget the fact that it's Benderson or it's Campbell Dog Food Company or whoever the hang it is that's building this place. That has nothing to do with it. They affect not only those traffic lights and those roads, they affect everybody in the township. And that's why it was broken down into zones. So you don't get locked into that box and you can become flexible. And you've got 3 traffic lights down here that are aging and need to be widened, blah, blah, blah. You got a 272 Church Street intersection that needs improved. We sat here and talked about that. And I said, why don't you guys take the money that's in the TIF and buy the land as you're coming out of Denver, buy the land on the right, so you can widen that road and put the intersections in, because we all, now Craig wasn't on the board at the time, but the other 3 guys that were up there all agreed that it was deficient intersection. You have the money. Is it gonna pay for it all? I don't know, but you don't know if you don't ask. Go out and start negotiating with those landowners and say, and you know, there's a way you can get the land even if they don't want to sell it. It's called eminent domain for safety reasons. It's a lousy way to do it, but the government allows you to do that. Yeah, so anyhow, you know, I wouldn't hinge my whole lifestyle on the fact that you're not willing to spend to go to TIF because they're not project eligible. There's plenty of projects in that zone that need attention. So they're helping to improve everything. And as I said, I always wanted TIF because of the taxpayer. I get tired of paying for these guys that come in, clog up the roads, don't give a rip about the intersection, and then collect their money. Oh man, I made it. I'm out of here. Where can I go make my next million? We're stuck with a problem. That's what the TIF's for, to eliminate some of that.
The other question that I have here is that there's only 2 spots that are TIF eligible, right? Out of the whole, why can't there be, I mean, it's 2 out of, I don't know how many, but I don't know. So if there could be a projection based on those 2.
it hasn't been identified yet.
There's 2 though.
No, there is several that are TIF eligible in related area of the boulevard. So we don't know what PennDOT's requiring them to do. We don't know that. So
We don't even know if they've been to PennDOT yet. Mr. Eversole said that question was asked.
I don't
but he hasn't
know
gotten an
that.
answer.
I can tell you, as an old board member, not a new guy, obviously, they were PennDOT years ago. They were PennDOT years ago.
Well, PennDOT requirements have changed over the
I
years
understand
too.
that, but that's a lousy excuse. I wasn't PennDOT. Okay, now maybe not for the new one, but.
It's about a question to ask them.
They're engineers, they know how to do
Because
it.
what PennDOT would have approved 10 years ago is not necessarily what PennDOT would have approved this year.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay,
they had a
we're gonna move on and table this one for the next meeting.
Can I just add?
Yes, please.
And I'm new to it, so I'm, obviously, I'm trying to get caught up to speed and obviously work with the board as they work through this. Just from the money end, we have, tracked back, the money. There's still a couple, one or two items that we're looking to check. I think two of them that had, payments that were provided, they get 2 years to do it. So we're trying to confirm that, so that money will come in. But we have a good record now that we're gonna be sharing with everyone internally. We've done that, of how much money is sitting in this TIP fund and how it's allocated for each of these districts. To add another layer, is quite a bit of money out of these that was collected, that's called flex money, that they had agreed when they paid that it wouldn't go in a specific district, so it could be used in any of the districts. So internally, wanted to make sure, as obviously we're dealing with these policy issues that the board's trying to address now, as well as a time crunch from the developer and saying, look, we want to do something here and we want to see what your policy is so that we can decide what we're going to do. During that discussion, a series of questions come up internally from engineers and consultants. What is this? How is this categorized? Can we use this for a TIF or non-TIF project? So we're trying to gather that information as well, because we're also trying to make sure that we can't get all three of them together in a room unless we're in a public session. So how do we gather that and get it so that it's provided to everybody? The third component, at least internally for me, and again, I'm just speaking on my end, coming in as a new person, is what's the role of the TIF advisory committee in this? The decision ultimately, as the board mentioned, is the board's decision. They can change the land use assumptions, roadway analysis, all that stuff. But they also charge the TIF committee to examine these matters and make recommendations to the board. So I think part of the component is the TIF committee also needs to know where we are, how this money is separated, and what some of these items are. So I had proposed an email to the board that we try to schedule a meeting in early July with the TIF committee to look at these things, all these questions, these issues, these bullet items, and then to turn around quickly with some kind of recommendation to the board concerning how this program is going to run forward. I am all in favor, and again, I'm very pulled into some of the history of it and how it was set up and how it's being used, but my sort of process this is we need these monies to work to the best advantage of the township. And how can we do it? We want these monies to be flexible. We want to be able to use them to leverage state and federal monies. We haven't really been able to, but here we have, over $800,000 that is great match money for certain grants that we could use. And how do we make it so that the board then can be very responsive to whether it's this developer or any developer coming in? We need to be able to get those things laid out. And some of these items now, I think, the board have been dealing with not having all this information, which we're trying to compile internally. The other part is we don't have maybe all the information and it's not a perfect world. We're not going to get everything you want to see from the developer. They're going to play sometimes, they're going to ask questions and see what direction the board's leaning, but they're not going to provide everything. So it's a balance of how do we do that and how do we set policy moving forward for our community. I would think the advisory committee could hopefully provide some good insight for the board to consider, but I'm also balancing that with the fact that we're looking at a 2-week window of trying to get that group together, bring it up to speed, make a recommendation to the next time the board meets. So that's the part I guess I would like to just get maybe some direction from you guys if you want to proceed in that way, or if you think that, hey, we'd much rather right now we have this information, let's decide which direction we want to go and move forward.
Well, I'm hearing you say that the financial is all put together, ready to present.
Yeah, there's all we're trying to be. I actually got an email before this confirming records of 2 payments that were put off for 2 years. They have to be made till 2022. So when they were.
And that was one of the holdups with the committee in the past, why they didn't want to meet in May was, well, we don't have these financials together. So I think if you do have them together, that's at least a reason for them to meet. Whether they can get together that quick, that's up to you to decide, but I would say, why not? Let them meet. This can be a discussion item as well, with TIF funds and developers. You know, I'm receptive to input from them, that's why they're there. So whatever your thoughts are, gentlemen, I'd say move ahead if you can make it happen.
I'm fine with that, Mike.
And my goal was trying to get it turned around before your next meeting. Sure.
Yeah,
We're,
yeah, if we can get it done.
yeah, that would be your thought, just so that you have that, and then you can decide from their recommendations how you want to proceed with that step.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't, last thing I do is push it off, and then we're into August.
No,
No.
we can't.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Department, I'm sorry, one more question.
I seem to remember at many meetings, the traffic impact fee group has been asking for these numbers for months and months, if not years. And they haven't been given that information so that they can move ahead.
No, you're right.
So why is it all of a sudden now we can get that to them in a week?
Well, I believe.
Because the manager we had in the past didn't do that?
I think it was a process of catching up and going through and sorting.
I'm not putting any onus on you, I'm just confirming again that things weren't being done by the previous manager that should have been done all along. I'm not saying anything about you not doing it, I'm saying this just confirms again where things have not been done that should have been done.
I think
The
you're
end
going
of
down
our
the wrong
sentence.
road there.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, department reports, those will be presented at the July 15th meeting as we stated in the last week. Okay. And then Jeff, we have your list of bills.
Yes, we do. We do have a list of bills. Like we did to make the proper motions at our last meeting that we can approve these.
Correct, they have been approved contingent upon you and Greg signing off on them.
Yes.
But I did ask, since we were meeting, I just asked Judy to make sure she put a list of them in the packet.
Yes, we will present them at this meeting. So we have a total general fund of $72,625.68. And a light fund of $2,517.62. So is there any questions on this list of bills as presented?
Just one small one, Jeff. I think I know the answer. Check 61132 to Martin Energy Group. That's for the
Generator.
at the fire company for
Yes.
emergency service.
Yeah, that's part of the yearly maintenance contract, and they changed the oil and did other things
Thank you.
there too. So, anybody else? Okay,
And they were approved.
they were approved, so we don't need a motion. I will also announce we have the payroll for June 6th through June 19th. Of a total of $78,935.10. So. doesn't need approval either.
Okay.
Thank you.
So old business, as we said in the last meeting, we will be presented at the July 15th meeting.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes, sir.
old business, at the last meeting, I complained about the repair work or whatever that's done on North Greenstown Road in the area of 8789 North Greenstown Road, and that it was pretty much required front end along as possible. And day before yesterday, I believe, they did the work. I went out yesterday and looked at it. I'm satisfied. I know you
It
guys.
came up that way, it's fine.
It's
Better
fine.
than it was.
It was, so, again, that was Mike meeting with the people he needed to meet with and getting it done, and it's done. Thank you. Sure. And I hope.
That's fast. They did a nice job. I'm trying to remember it.
New business informational. Gentlemen, anything?
No.
Okay. And then managers report, Mike.
Yeah, I just have a couple quick things, but one that would require some type of action, the old Homestead neighborhood park. I had been out there with the road crew, took a look at the playground areas that were there. The mulch, I think, was last filled in that park in 2018. So they have been dealing with areas where that mulch is broken down and weeds are growing through, and we're pulling weeds and weed whacking. So went out, took a look, and found out that we can probably, if we should, get some new mulch and some fabric put in there. The weeds have been addressed, at least for now, and I contacted 3 companies to get quotes on 200 cubic yards of mulch, playground certified mulch. And you saw the cheapest one was Goods Mulch at $3,820. The most expensive was Eagle Brothers at $47.11. So in order to get that playground addressed, I mean, it's one of our parks and it needs it to bring that mulch up to keep it safe, and also it's going to cut down having to go out and pull those weeds. I have 2 motions. One is to contract with Goods Mulch for the purchase and delivery of the 200 cubic yards of certified playground mulch to the Old Homestead Neighborhood Park at a cost of $38.20. And the other is to authorize the roadmaster to purchase 5 rolls of filter fabric from Winning Touch Nursery at a total cost of $675 for use at the park. Total project cost $4,495, and the account item that we're pulling that out of has $15,000 in it. They spent about $1,200 or $1,900 so far, so we have money sitting there. So it's just something. It's our park. We need to get safe, and it's going to look nice, and it's going to be able to redirect our road crew elsewhere. The other component in here is, part of this sharing of me with Denver and you guys was looking at possible other ways that we could try to combine forces and fill in gaps that what each of the municipalities have at a fair, obviously, cost and price to each municipality. So I did have in here, we do have a person in our public works department who is certified to spray weeds for alongside the road and in the playground areas, and was breaking down the possibility of maybe having the township and the borough work together, that then come out spray there. That cost could possibly be something that could be shared down the road, because you have a crack sealer, we don't, we usually rent one. That might be a way of sort of both parties doing some. I believe the weeds can be sprayed though at Old Homestead. So, yeah, so this isn't anything that needs to be done now, but it's something to keep in the back of our mind. We'll try to keep looking at ways we can try to combine some things and work together as 2 municipalities and do it more cost efficiently. So the action I need for this is just those 2 motions. One, the contract with Goods Mulch for $3,820, and that's for the 200 cubic yards of certified playground mulch. And the other one's to purchase the filter fabric. I believe you guys may have anything else.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I will make that motion as described by Mike.
And I will second that. All in favor? Motion carries.
What time frame do you see them getting started on that one?
Well, the gentleman from Goods was called me the other day saying, hey, is that order placed yet? So don't drop that, we'll drop it.
Preference first.
Hey, Mike, is that mulch?
I'm sorry, go ahead, there was a question.
Quick question, just going back to a couple meetings, wasn't somebody from our road crew supposed to get like certified to spray the weeds and stuff?
Yeah, they've taken the test, they didn't get the results back yet. There's a delay before you get those results. And the only other problem with that is they won't even send you, if you pass or fail, what questions you got right or wrong. They just tell you you pass or you fail.
Well, it's good to work together also with them, right? I'm all for that, so
But yeah,
at least you have a game there, that's good.
Yeah.
I know the recent mulch that was, the chips that were dropped off for Central Park had some sort of chemical in it, human safe, and it deterred from the, for I guess, vegetation from going up, it settled. Do you know if there's any chemicals or anything like that?
No, that's the first we're pretty much limited to have a certified playground safety mulch put down, and mulch is prepared a little bit differently. It's not as pointy as we see household mulch, and it's treated a special way. So no one's ever elaborated on it. I did go out, I think it might have been Monday or Tuesday, whenever the gentleman was out late doing the work at Stony Point, and was talking to him as he was finishing up, and he had mentioned that that mulch, that same feature. And that's the first I'd ever heard that. So I said, well, we'll see how well that works. Now whether all certified playground mulch is treated that way. I never looked into it, but no one's ever said to me, we have this.
Yeah.
Usually they try not to talk about any chemicals on it when they're putting it out of the playground.
And let me add to that, so even when their estimates come in, they actually state, this says, quote, certified playground mulch from Kansas City. It actually states it's certified.
Yeah, I'm just asking a question. It was part of that description, so.
Okay, and
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I thought it was kind of, we were on that. So.
Yes, Jim.
Regarding weeds, my neighbor pulled weeds again last week on the island in Roseville. So I don't know who's gonna be responsible for that anymore. You know, we heard that they were gonna be certified to spray herbicides. And if anybody has, it certainly isn't working, because she had a bunch of weeds pulled out of there again. And are you aware that maybe there isn't anymore, but there used to be a lot of poison ivy at the old Homestead Park. If your kid lost their basketball and it went down that hill, that was loaded with poison ivy. Maybe the poison ivy hasn't bloomed yet, I don't know. I haven't been to that park, but there was a lot of poison ivy there. It was kind of along the tree line where that borders, I guess, the Weaver's Market's property.
Okay.
And it was a concern because the balls would go down there and then the kids trying to get the ball and get loaded with poison ivy, so.
I'll ask, and no one had said anything to me from the crew, and I think we're up in the city, so to be honest, I could walk right through poison ivy, I know it's there until I'm itching. So I would have to get educated on that, but I will.
Leaves of green, let them be.
Yeah, we're all looking at it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
sure. The other, just a quick other update, the July sixth, D&E is scheduled to hopefully complete their installation and the connection for the fiber here for the building. So everything's ready to go. Once that's done, and we'll send the IP information to our tech people, and we'll get everything brought up to speed.
Great, thank you.
And then lastly, the regional meeting, if you recall, it's going to be July 27th. Township's hosting that. And I believe that's the same night that there is a authority meeting here. So I did contact the Reachtown Fire Hall, and they agreed to allow us to meet at that site. So that's going to be Tuesday night, 27th. It's a regular regional meeting, and we agreed to host.
Do they still charge a $200 training fee that no other firehouse charges?
I think the last time we were there, it was waived.
Yeah, no one's presented a fee, and I was presenting it like there was fee-free.
Good, because Stevens doesn't charge,
Okay.
and I don't think Smokestown charges either.
They were very accommodating. I think it's a training night, but they said they could work
Okay.
with that. So that's all.
No reason to pay that when the other two firehouses don't charge.
Okay. Moving on, and public comments for non-agenda items. Please state your name and your address, please. Any public comments? Okay. There's no executive session that we need. At this point, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And I will second that. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to come in during the day.
Have a great day.
You guys like